Amara Cole was 28 when she realized a relationship could quietly end long before anyone packed a bag. She and Daniel Hayes had been together almost 3 years, living in the same apartment for one. That was long enough to think their lives were woven together. Yet one evening on the couch, Daniel looked at his phone and said casually, "My mom thinks I could do better." The sentence hung in the room like smoke. Amara waited for him to laugh it off or correct himself. Instead, he added, "I'm just being honest." She studied his face, wondering if he understood what he had just broken. Daniel's mother had always been present in their relationship like an invisible supervisor. She asked polite questions that somehow always sounded like criticism. "How's Amara's job going?" she would say. "Does she have plans to grow?" At first, Daniel defended her. "She just worries," he told Amara. Later, he began repeating the questions himself. "Mom thinks we should be planning more seriously," he'd say. Eventually, he stopped defending anything at all. That night on the couch, Amara felt something settle inside her. Not anger, not heartbreak, just clarity. She looked at him calmly and said, "You're right." Daniel blinked. "Wait, I am." "Yes," Amara said quietly. "You don't have an answer for why you're with me, and that tells me everything." Daniel stared at her like he expected an argument. Maybe tears. Maybe a list of reasons he should stay. Instead, she stood up. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Agreeing with you," she replied. Daniel scoffed. "Don't be dramatic." She didn't answer. That night, she slept on the edge of the bed while he breathed steadily beside her, as if nothing had changed. But everything had. Amara stared at the ceiling and thought, sometimes the truth arrives softly, but once it's spoken, it refuses to leave. The next morning, Daniel kissed her cheek absent-mindedly before leaving for work. "Don't forget the trash," he said while grabbing his keys. The door closed behind him. Amara stood still in the quiet apartment. Then she walked to the closet and pulled out 2 travel bags. She packed slowly and neatly, folding each piece of clothing with care. She wasn't sneaking. She just didn't need noise. In the dresser were gifts she had bought Daniel, a scarf from a trip, new shoes for work, a jacket he loved. She left them behind. The relationship had already ended. She was simply catching up to the truth. Before leaving, Amara walked through the apartment one last time. The framed photo from Daniel's cousin's wedding. The plant she watered while he forgot. The grocery list stuck to the fridge. From the outside, their life looked balanced. Up close, she knew how much effort she had quietly carried. She picked up a pen and wrote a short note. "Now you and your mom can figure out together why you're single." She placed it neatly on the kitchen counter. Not hidden, not dramatic, just clear. Then she grabbed her bags, opened the door, and stepped into a calm she hadn't felt in months. Amara didn't block Daniel's number. She didn't disappear. She simply went to her sister Maya's apartment across the city. Maya opened the door, saw the bags, and raised an eyebrow. "You finally did it?" she asked. Amara nodded. Maya handed her a bottle of water and said with a small smile, "About time." By noon, Amara's phone began buzzing. Missed call. Another call. Then a text. "Where are you? Are you seriously doing this?" A few minutes later, another message appeared. "This is immature, Amara." She stared at the screen and laughed softly. Immature had always been Daniel's favorite word whenever she stopped staying quiet. At 1:43 p.m., another message appeared. "My mom says you're overreacting." Amara leaned back against the couch and shook her head. Even now, Daniel needed his mother's voice beside his. By evening, he was calling nonstop. Finally, a text arrived. "Did you actually move out?" She didn't reply. Then came another. "This isn't funny. Call me." And finally, "My mom thinks you're being manipulative." Amara sighed. "Still consulting the board of directors," she murmured. Maya glanced up from the kitchen. "His mom again?" Amara nodded. "Always." That night, Daniel left a voicemail. His voice started sharp. "You don't just walk out because of one comment," he said. "Normal couples talk things through." Then his tone softened. "I was venting. Everyone complains to their mom sometimes." At the end, he added quietly, "I didn't think you'd actually leave." Amara listened once and deleted the message. That sentence told her everything. He hadn't expected consequences. He had expected endurance. For years she had absorbed criticism and quietly proven her worth. Now that role was gone, and Daniel had no idea what came next. The next day, a mutual friend texted her. "Daniel's freaking out," the message read. "He says you blindsided him." Amara stared at the word. Blindsided. As if hearing, "I don't know why I'm still with you," should have meant nothing. She typed one reply. "I didn't leave because of his mom. I left because he agreed with her." The friend never responded. Amara set the phone aside. For the first time in years, she wasn't waiting for anyone's permission to move on. By the following morning, stories had started circulating. One friend said Daniel claimed Amara stormed out over a misunderstanding. Another said he described it as an emotional breakdown. Apparently his mother was concerned about her stability. Amara sighed. Daniel had always been good at shaping the narrative.
He didn't lie outright.
He just edited the truth. Around noon her phone buzzed again. "My mom says we should talk like adults." Amara replied immediately. "This isn't a group discussion." The typing dots appeared. "You're being dramatic," he wrote. She stared at the screen and felt an hour later Daniel tired called. Understanding. Amara answered. "So you're just done?" he asked immediately. 3 years and you leave a note?" She replied calmly. "You said you didn't know why you were with me. I helped you answer that." His voice sharpened. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" she asked. Silence. Then irritation. "I'm under pressure from my mom, from everyone." Amara almost laughed. "You wanted reassurance," she said quietly. "But I'm tired of auditioning for a role I've already been playing for free." 2 days later Daniel appeared at Maya's apartment. Amara opened the door and froze. He stood there neatly dressed, jaw tight. "So this is where you ran off to," he said. She blocked the doorway. "You shouldn't be here." He rolled his eyes. "Relax. I just want to talk. My mom thinks this whole thing got blown out of proportion." Amara laughed once. "Your mom doesn't get a vote," she said. Daniel's expression hardened. "You're being disrespectful." She tilted her head. "To who? You or her?" "You always do this," Daniel snapped. "You turn everything into some moral stand." Amara kept her voice steady. "Fixing things how?" "By convincing you I'm worth staying with." He scoffed. "See that attitude? That's what my mom meant." Amara sighed. "Daniel, you didn't just repeat her words. You believed them." He hesitated. "I was confused," he said. "No," she replied gently. "You were honest." The words landed heavily between them. "You just leave without discussion?" he demanded. Amara looked at him for a long moment. "I gave you 3 years," she said. This wasn't sudden. It was overdue. Daniel stared at her like she had become a stranger. "You think you're better than me now?" he asked bitterly. She shook her head. "No. I just stopped shrinking." Something in his face changed then. The certainty faded. For the first time since arriving, he looked unsure. Daniel finally turned toward the hallway. "Fine," he muttered. "If you want space, take it. But don't act like I didn't try." Amara almost smiled. "Trying would have sounded different," she said. He paused at the end of the hall. "My mom thinks you'll regret this." Amara shrugged. "I already don't." Daniel froze briefly before walking away. That night Amara received a message from Daniel's mother. The text was long and carefully written. "Amara, Daniel is under a lot of pressure. He needs stability and a partner who understands her place in his future." Amara reread one line slowly. Her place. She set the phone down and exhaled. Suddenly, everything made sense. This wasn't just interference. It was a system where Daniel's mother evaluated every part of his life, including the woman he loved. The next day, Daniel texted again. "My mom didn't mean it like that." Amara replied with one sentence. "She meant it exactly how you meant it." He didn't answer. Later, a friend told her Daniel had taken time off work and kept saying he didn't recognize her anymore. Amara understood that part. She didn't recognize herself either. The new version of her stood straighter, quieter, no longer bracing for the next criticism. Eventually, Daniel called again. His voice sounded exhausted. "I didn't think you'd choose yourself over us," he said softly.
Us.
Amara repeated. Yes, thus. She sighed. That's why I left, she said. Because it wasn't really us. It was you, me, and your mother reviewing my worth. Silence filled the line. Then he whispered, Is there any chance we could try again, maybe with boundaries this time? Amara closed her eyes. You're offering that now because you lost me, she said. Not because you chose me. A week later they ran into each other at a small coffee shop near their old neighborhood. Daniel looked tired but composed. Can we talk for a minute? He asked. They sat across from each other quietly. Finally he said, My mom keeps asking why I didn't fight harder to keep you. Amara raised an eyebrow. And what do you tell her? He looked down. I don't know. She studied him gently. I didn't hear your words as final, she explained. I accepted them. Their final conversation happened later on the phone after Daniel returned to the apartment to pack. My mom asked again why I'm single, he said quietly. This time I told her the truth, that I let her voice become louder than my own. Amara listened. Understanding it now won't change the past, she said softly. But maybe it will change your future. They said goodbye without promises. When the call ended, Amara sat quietly and felt something unfamiliar but peaceful settle inside her. She had finally stopped mistaking being needed for being chosen, and that changed everything.